Hello, welcome to the Cinema Gold Show. I'm your host, Larry Leese. Today we're diving into the latest episode of Marvel's What If and continuing our series, I Know You Know, a review of Psych, Season 3. First, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Pondex, for sponsoring this episode. You can check them out today at pondex.com. Use the promo code Larry21 for 10% off your first purchase. We'd also like to thank our new sponsor, Audible. You can check out Audible today and get a free 30-day trial by going to audibletrial.com/Larry21. Audible is a great source for all kinds of audiobooks from all the genres. You can check out Audible. They have exclusive podcasts, Audible originals, music. Check them out today. audibletrial.com/Larry21 for a free 30-day trial. And now let's get into episode 7. As always, this episode contains spoilers for Marvel's What If episode 7. In episode 7 of Marvel's What If Thor were an only child? In episode 7 of Marvel's What If, we get to find out what would have happened if Odin had decided to return the wee baby Loki to his frost giant family instead of keeping him and Thor, and grown up believing he was an only child. I'm phrasing it that way because, Hela still exists, lest we forget Her Majesty. It's a fun, fluffy episode that ends with a terrific cliffhanger that seems to set up the finale of this consistently entertaining animated series. It gives us plenty to talk about until it arrives. I'm sure they'll find a way to kill Tony Stark at least one more time before it does. If you're a regular to the show and often listen to our weekly reviews, you may already know they have a bit of a unique format. More of a breakdown that we hope satisfies die-hard Marvel fans, but also brings those less familiar with the MCU up to speed. With that in mind, it's time to dig deeper into what if Thor were an only child. So you may be asking yourself and me, what would be required viewing? Certainly, the first Thor movie needs to be on your radar, along with Thor Ragnarok, and possibly Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, Captain Marvel, and Avengers: Age of Ultron. As we've come to expect, Jeffrey Wright returns as voice of the Watcher, Chris Hemsworth is Thor, Tom Hiddleston is Loki, Natalie Portman is Jane Foster, Kat Dennings is Darcy, Samuel L. Jackson returns as Nick Fury, Jeff Goldblum is the Grandmaster, Kobe Smulders is Maria Hill, Clark Gregg is Agent Coulson, Frank Grillo is Crossbones, Taika Waititi is Korg, Seth Green is Howard the Duck, Alexandra Daniels is Carol Danvers / Captain Marvel, Rachel House is Topaz. And now you may be wondering, so what's different? Jane Foster and Darcy Lewis are camping on the desert, monitoring a rather familiar astronomaly that turns out to be Thor and his gang arriving in Las Vegas, with the intention to party and party hard. Watcher then jumps in with a bit of exposition. In this universe, Odin chose not to raise Loki as his own. After finding him on the battlefield as a baby, brought him back to the Frost Giants instead. Growing up minus a testing but pivotally maturing relationship with Loki, Thor has evolved into a party prince who jumps at the opportunity to capitalize on his bad boy behavior when his father slips into Odin's sleep, and his mother Frigga takes her eye off the royal ball. Like all and sundry from the 9 realms to the biggest party ever witnessed on Earth, is certainly a surprising series of events for Jane and Darcy to cope with. They were expecting a much more malevolent alien invasion. But despite his lack of wisdom, Jane is still attracted to Thor and is pulled into his orbit. Meanwhile, Darcy marries Howard the Duck. And that escalated quickly. After partying all night with a gaggle of MCU faves, including Foam Party Grandmaster, Nebula, Jane is paid a visit from S.H.I.E.L.D., who are looking for a way to get rid of Thor and clean up the mess that he and his revelers are making on Earth. Maria Hill decides to call on Captain Marvel to get the job done. She arrives and kicks his ass for a while, but explains that using her full power to get rid of him might cause catastrophic damage to the planet. So Maria and Carol plot to lure Thor into a remote area where his annihilation won't be as much of a problem. Jane thinks S.H.I.E.L.D.'s her plan is way out of pocket and concocts a different one to tell Frigga about Thor going off the chain. Frigga appears and lays down the law while Thor promises he's definitely not partying and is in fact studying the 9 realms of cultural exchange as agreed. Efforts to clean up his mess before she arrives on Earth are mixed at best, but Thor nearly manages to sell it to his mother when she lands, thanks to Captain Marvel. As the episode appears to wrap up, Thor and Jane's relationship develops further, with the pair agreeing to go on a date. So how does it end up? Well, we almost get a happy ending in this one, but even the watcher didn't see the cliffhanger coming. As some romantic music soars around Jane and Thor, the portal opens and out marches Infinity Ultron. He's in the body he created during Avengers Age of Ultron that the Avengers nabbed and used to bring Vision to life in the sacred timeline, and he has all 6 Infinity Stones. But will it be James Spader's voice flowing from Ultron's mouth when we next see him, or Paul Bettany somehow? I can't wait to find out, and there are a lot of tantalizing questions here. Here are several good standout moments in this episode. Both Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston seem to have a grand old time bringing these versions of Thor and Loki to life in the booth, and their banter is just a gift that keeps on giving in episode 7. It was a treat to see the pair interacting without so many years of rivalry and resentment having built up between them. Turns out they would have been the best of friends, something that perhaps both of them suspected in the sacred timeline, but could never quite achieve given their family history. Kat Dennings was on hand to deliver most of the episode's killer lines, and in the series where some of the voices, sadly, haven't really matched the energy of their animated hosts, Darcy jumps out as a successful incarnation. I never thought I'd witness Darcy and Howard the Duck tying a knot, but sometimes the MCU gives us things we didn't know we needed. I now give my right eye to see these two interact in live action. Episode 7's Infinity Ultron cliffhanger was also superb. I know that Marvel has teased it in various marketing materials, but What If's finale showdown, which will seemingly bring all these universes together for a huge battle that includes Captain Carter, should be quite the eye-popping denouement. And that is all we have for our review of Marvel's What If Episode 7. And now on to our review of Psych Season 3. The good? Well, we actually get character development, some decent writing, good plots, and if you have the DVD set, some great bonus features. The bad? Sadly, it's a short season and some of the plots are repetitive. The basics of what you should know. 16 episode third season is funny, has some character development that makes it much stronger than the 2 prior seasons. Last few weeks, I've been doing a lot of computer work. This has led to have Psych on quite a bit. I finally broke down and bought the box set. So I've been watching episodes here and there, and just wrapped up watching season 3. In the third season of Psych, the characters are given the opportunity to genuinely grow and develop, and that makes it a worthwhile season. While some of that character growth seems oddly contrived, the effort goes an astonishing long way. But for the moment of character that the show illustrates in season 3, it is still a gimmick show. For those unfamiliar with the gimmick, Psych focuses on Sean Spencer, a smart private detective who helps the Santa Barbara Police Department solving crimes by pretending to be psychic. With his best friend Gus, he earns money and the respect of his father. Opening with the return of Sean's mother, Season 3 follows Sean and Gus on cases that frequently put them in danger. While Sean wrestles with the return of his mother, Gus finds himself fighting to keep his pharmaceutical job. As Gus fights to keep his job, Sean helps Gus foil a ghost case when Gus's boss is haunted. The cases take the pair to their own high school reunion, Daredevil show, and on the hunt for private treasure. When one of Henry's cases is reopened, Sean must solve the case. When Chief Vic's sister brings in a case involving a murder on an oil rig. Family is also involved when Gus's parents return, and Sean and Gus's sister reignite a romance they have around Christmas. The guys take to the open sea to solve the murder of a sea lion, and Gus is trapped in a bank in a hostage situation. Sean and Gus return to a summer camp they once loved to help solve a murder mystery. A la Friday the 13th, and a serial killer from the past comes back to terrorize Santa Barbara with only Sean to stop him. The third season of Psych has a greater sense of serialization than the prior two seasons. So, for example, the second episode features a high school reunion, and the season finale revisits Sean's love interest from that episode. As well, it calls back to the treasure hunting episode. The problem with the serialization in the third season of Psych is that it robs the two big emotional moments of the season of their impact. Without ruining either, the revelation that Henry was left by his wife, not the other way around, is no surprise for those who have been watching the show. Henry has always seemed like he is trying to hold the family together. When he said in the second season, "Your mom is not coming back," to Sean, but that Sean didn't say anything in response indicates that she left him. But when she admits that to Sean in season 3, it is not actually a surprise. The second big character moment actually comes from Lassiter, and it's similarly predictable. Even so, the effort is appreciated, and it generally pays off. Character development, like the movement on Sean and Juliet toward one another, gives the actors something real to challenge themselves with. Final 2 episodes of the season, for example, are much darker and legitimately frightening than anything else the show had produced before. James Roday plays the series elements extraordinarily well. He has done zany well up until this point. But as the season winds down, he comes into his own with a serious disposition that sells the viewer on his character's brilliance. In the final scenes of the season, he gives a performance that is actually heartbreaking. Sean's only superpower seems to be an exceptional sense of sight, which allows him to observe details most people cannot perceive as quickly, and Roday continues to play that with a straight face. In the third season, the cast remains stable, with Dule Hill proving once again to be the best actor on the cast. I write that because the blooper reels on the DVDs are pretty much bloopers involving him messing up his lines. But in the finished product, Hill is as focused and well presented as he was when he was on the West Wing. Instead of going through the usual character arcs for the season, it bears repeating that despite the progress in the third season of Psych, it's still largely a formulaic, repetitive, episodic television series. In its third season, Psych becomes problematic in that the caliber of the guest stars begins to telegraph the cases. To be more clear, in the third season of Psych, there are more reasonable suspects who pop up played by recognizable character actors. This becomes distracting when watching in some cases because the red herrings become more annoying because the big guest stars are always the one who is guilty. This season continues a trend of great guest stars for the show, like Jane Lynch, Keith David, and Felicia Rashad. Ultimately, Psych Season 3 has the show truly reaching its stride. And on DVD, it includes so many bonus scenes, bloopers, and commentary tracks to make it worth buying. And I'm going to give this season a B rating. And now we're going to go into our segment featuring the Poddex. So the question is, which movie have you seen the most? How many times have you seen it? That is a good question. I would have to say, I'm going to go with Pulp Fiction. I'm going to say I've probably seen it about 10 times. Maybe more, at least 10. And that's our show for today. Thanks for watching. If you want to support the show, consider joining our Patreon, patreon.com/cinemagold. Your support helps the show grow. And when you join Patreon, there's multiple tiers you can select, and you'll get access to exclusive content. You'll be able to vote on polls to help decide future content. So yeah, check them out today. Patreon.com/cinemagold. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
For the record, your mom came on to me.